This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And yes, folks, I was making that transition to go to Toronto. I got a job offer there, and I can't seem to get there because, well, I just can't abandon my kitty Skittles. Yeah, he's not doing anything to help the cause any, but nonetheless, yeah, I'm here. But you know what? That's fine. If worst comes to worst. Um, I am going to be there for Frightmare in the Falls this fall, assisting Lisa Langlois. And, I wish Horror-rama was happening this fall, but not quite. But we're not going to talk about that because I have a lovely guest on with me today. Yes, she was part of David Cronenberg's 1979 classic, The Brood. So, folks, here we are with Cindy Hinds. How do you do, Cindy?
I'm good. It's so nice to see you. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing great. Here we are, July
Wonderful.
9th, the day after my 51st birthday.
Happy belated in a beautiful Fredericton. So hello to all my family and friends down in the East Coast too.
Yeah, so are you going to sing happy birthday to me?
Oh God, no, I wouldn't do that to you. Everybody would stop listening immediately.
Why not?
Oh,
Tell me something. Do you have it's funny because I run into so many guests that like to me I call New Brunswick the forgotten or the unknown province in
mhm.
Canada because it's never spoken of. And I often joked when the Ultimate Warrior said that he was from parts unknown in wrestling. I was like, "Oh, he must be from New Brunswick." Nobody knows where we are.
Yes, yes. No, I wish I haven't have known you last year, and we would have absolutely had the opportunity to meet up because I was in Fredericton last summer visiting some family and
Hmm.
saw that beautiful old wooden bridge, and oh my gosh, it's just absolutely beautiful, beautiful down there.
Well, I am going to be at Frightmare in the Falls this fall. I'll be in Toronto for a week, so I would love to meet up with you when I go.
You can guarantee it. I absolutely want to make it down to Frightmare in the Falls. It's been a few years since I've been there, and it is always so much fun. And there's nothing better. So absolutely, we will.
Yep,
Sure.
yep. And if not at Frightmare, like I said, I'll be in Toronto for a week, so
Yeah,
you could probably meet up with me and Lisa, because
absolutely, would love
yep,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe I can drag Art along.
You know what? I haven't had him on here yet, too, because and he's done quite a few films I like too. So
Yeah, he's wonderful talent, wonderful
I
Canadian talent.
it's funny because in 2019, just before the bug hit,
Hmm.
I was down to Toronto, and there was a this was funny because Horror-rama was happening at the end of November. So I was there for part of the Christmas season before I had to come back here. But they had this was so funny to me. There was a double screening, I think it was at the Royal Theatre or something like that,
Yeah.
of White Christmas and Black Christmas, which I was just tickled by. And I called Lisa and I said, "Would you like to join me for this?" And she said, "Not White Christmas, but Black Christmas, yes," because she said that, it was shot in Toronto and she wanted to see how many people she knew in it and whatnot. And so I got her a ticket and she met me. And um, White Christmas had some people attend, but Black Christmas was packed. And I love that movie. And anyway, I remember afterwards, um, Lisa called Art Hindle up, and I think we were because we went somewhere to eat afterwards, but she called him up and she asked him if he still had that coat. And apparently he did.
Hmm.
Yeah,
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 absolutely. It's
yeah.
the infamous coat that's made a few guest shots in movies of his.
There you go. Well, if my background doesn't, there you go. The Brood.
The Brood, Criterion.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I watched this. I know you were supposed to come on last week, and you weren't able to, and that's understandable. I always tell podcasters, don't do live podcast and don't do podcast on a certain day. Be flexible, because that way, you can work around your guest and make
Yeah.
create better relations,
Well, I greatly appreciate the understanding. As you know, things can be difficult with a disabled child. So that was very kind of you to accommodate.
Yeah, but child can't be more disabled than the ones you're dealing with in the movie.
I might call them a little bit more, yeah, than a
There you go.
little more psychotic.
Yeah, there you go. Well, they were leading you along by the hand down the side of the road, so I don't know. Maybe they are a little more independent than, but not that I want to get personal, but you like my only disable is my cat, and that's only because he's lazy. That's his handicap. He's lazy. But I hear about this, and that is gonna be a hard thing to do. What kind of duties you have uh, day to day uh, dealing with that?
Full-time care. I mean, thankfully he's such a joy. He's communicative, so he can share. He's 20 years old now, so he's a young man, but he
Hmm.
needs help dressing, bathing. He's not able to use or sit on a toilet. He has cerebral palsy, spastic quadriplegia, meaning every four quadrants of his body are affected by it. And
Hmm.
he's so stiff with it. So, if he tries to sit up, he's just every muscle goes rock hard. And he's had multiple hip replacements
Hmm.
and, you know, three major operations. And he's due for another one. He will have to have back surgery because he's developed scoliosis from the pulling. But
Hmm.
he is the light of my life, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. I mean, he's a breeze to take care of and to love, and he brings great joy versus my life and my career that I was doing for the last 16 years. So it's kind of nice. I've semi-retired. I'm still doing a bit of real estate, but really focusing on just healing after a very long and strenuous marriage and having him to look after, and got my daughter in school, and life is good right now. So it's wonderful.
Okay. Oh, wow. Well, that's not an easy thing to do, and I gotta say hats off to you on that. You say real estate, it's funny because I got a job at the Toronto General Hospital, and I was so excited about it when I heard, then because they're like the top hospital in Canada, and they've been so beautifully understanding and lenient because I was supposed to start on June 20th, and it's like National Lampoon's Vacation. Just when you think everything's gonna be when Chevy Chase says getting there is half the fun, that, and everything goes wrong, everything. And with this, because I've never done a move like that, and the first thing, I mean, Lisa had suggested to me to put stuff in storage here, and I thought, okay, that's a good idea. And then I could just go down with a bag full of clothes, my CPAP machine, and my laptop, and my cat. My big issues become my cat. I can't. And not only that, scammers, apartment scammers, like
Yeah,
people just don't have a life.
it's tough in Toronto, and people try to make a living however they can, and you find places that have 12 to 15 people living in them, and it's yeah, it's a little crazy.
Yep.
That's
So
why I'm happy north. It's quiet.
yep. So I'm here in my little apartment here, little
Yeah,
bachelor apartment, and at least I'm still working full time.
yeah.
I was working at the hospital here, but not now. But thankfully, I got a cleaning job that working me. But I do have a nice Toronto background
You
behind
do.
me
It's a
because
fantastic shot.
I
Yeah.
love
See the dome's
Toronto.
closed. If there's a game, it would be open today.
You know what? And I think I might have told you this, but um, Lisa's been on my show twice, and I remember the second time she was on was when she moved back from Los Angeles to Toronto, and we got talking about travel because I had never been, other than Prince Edward Island, I'd never been outside New Brunswick, and I would get homesick just going to Moncton or St. John to a concert.
Mhm.
Like I was somebody didn't like getting out of my comfort spot. So when Lisa invited me to assist her at Horror-rama in 2017, I was petrified, but at the same token, I couldn't say no to that. I couldn't say no. So move getting up like all the way up to the day I remember dreading to go to the trip, but I didn't tell her that.
Yeah.
But but I remember, it was my first time on a plane, and I gotta say, Porter Airlines is great. It felt like a bus in the sky.
Yes. Yeah.
Landed in Billy Bishop Airport. First
Very
time
nice.
I'd seen escalators since the mid 80s because we don't have them here anymore. And Lisa met me at the Union Station there. Uh, and then she gave me a little tour through that place. And then she gave me the gist of how to work the subways and the streetcars. And I just remember I met her and her son to eat. And she asked me a lot of questions about New Brunswick, but the only thing going through my head was, why in the hell am I not homesick?
That's
How weird is that?
that's wonderful. You were so
Yeah.
excited. That's good. It overcame, right?
And I had a blast because I went to
Fabulous.
Horror-rama 2017,
Yeah.
and boy, did I love it, and and I know you did one before I started going to them,
Mhm.
you know, but nonetheless, yeah, I got The Brood here, Cronenberg's The Brood, and I got a few of his movies, and I've interviewed a few people from his movies, but you're my first from the this movie.
Yeah.
So
Hard to believe. 45 years. Crazy.
45
I made it
years.
45 years ago. Yeah.
Well, yep, and released in 1979.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. I would have been 7.
Yeah. I was 8 and I
Mm-hmm.
played a 5-year-old in it. That was part of the reason that I got the role as well, because I was a little bit older. So
Mm-hmm.
they felt I wouldn't be quite so traumatized and I might be able to handle the material a bit more being a bit older. And I was so
Mm-hmm.
tiny, I still am. But yeah, so I was a bit older when I played it. But damn, it was a cold winter in 78.
Well, I'd like to get a little bit of your background, and I'd like to know um,
Sure.
what led you to get into the business. Was it something you always wanted to pursue? What's your backstory?
So really no thoughts at all. As a baby, mom had put me in a couple of baby shows or whatever, but just for fun, just like in the malls and stuff. She had once before, I believe, sent my brother in for something and nothing really came of it. And so she just left it. And I was turning 4 and my brother would have been 9. We were shopping at the Bay in Cedar Brae Mall in Scarborough,
Mm-hmm.
and the Bay man stopped us. He looked like the Batman, and he offered to give us, a little goldfish and have our picture taken. And he said to my mom, "Have you ever thought of putting your kids in modeling or anything? They're so angelic looking," because we were both so fair, so blonde, big blue eyes, freckles, that kind of a thing. And we did stand out because we were so fair. And my mom was like, "Nah, not really." But he gave us a card for Tranco Talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my mom thought about it for a few days and gave them a call. I don't remember obviously all of what happened then, but I do know that shortly thereafter I started working, like literally within a couple of weeks
Mm-hmm.
that Christmas. I shot a Caress fabric softener commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So I just turned 4. and then it never looked back. My brother did a few things. We did a couple of things together, which was fun. We did an American Express, and we got flown to Florida for it. It was great. Disney World.
Hmm.
But yeah, Jeff didn't enjoy it quite as much as I did, and we were never pushed, and that's what I say. So Jeff decided not to. I really enjoyed it though. I had a lot of fun. Maybe because I was a bit younger, I was less inhibited than he was at the time, and playing the younger parts. I did so many commercials, was doing quite a bit of television as well.
Hmm.
My mom and Tranco decided it was probably best if I stopped doing television commercials and modeling, because I was kind of saturating the market. So we focused on the television and then went for movies. And The Brood ended up being the first one that I auditioned for, and I got the part. And
You know,
then and I
I,
made all horror movies thereafter.
well, it's funny. You want me to tell you who you kind of resemble when I watch that? You kind of put me in mind of Heather O'Rourke from
I
Poltergeist.
I
You
know.
get,
See, and this is what everybody's always said to me, "Oh my gosh, you look like Heather O'Rourke." And I'm like, no, no, no. Heather O'Rourke looked like me.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
first.
Hmm.
Not
Absolutely,
gonna- But it's
absolutely.
it's I always thought that was so funny when people say, "Oh my gosh, you," and I'm like, Poltergeist is new. I love Poltergeist. Are you kidding? That's a fabulous movie. But mine was out years ago.
Yep,
I
yep,
started the blonde hair thing.
yep. Absolutely.
But it's
But
it's funny, right? It's that angelic look that everybody
hmm,
everybody thinks, right? And then really inside we're just pure evil.
yeah. Well, David Cronenberg, like he's still making movies. I did go see
Yes,
Crimes of the Future last year, when that came out, and his son is really doing well as well.
doing
Follow,
fantastic.
yeah,
Yes,
I did see I forget the name of that one they did with Jennifer Jason Leigh a couple of years ago, but he did one this year called Infinity Pool that I went to see because I love Mia Goth, especially after X and Pearl, and boy did she ever get snubbed at the Oscars on that Pearl. But but I did see Infinity Pool, and Brendan Cronenberg's got a lot of his father's talent, and I think that's awesome. We need that. But
yes.
David's still going, and I really admire his work. What was it like for you? What was your experience like with David Cronenberg?
No, it was wonderful. He was such a kind and patient and soft-spoken man. I mean, there was just anything that I needed or wanted, or it was just like, go get Cindy this, go get Cindy that. And that was, during the Brood, he took they all did. Everybody took very good care with me, but he was always very very conscious of the fact that some of the material was heavy, so always
Hmm.
checking in, are you okay? And, not only checking, was my mom okay with it being done, but was I okay with it being done? Was I being affected by any of it? So it really was a fantastic experience. And then David also hired me for Dead Zone.
Yep, we're going to get to
Um,
that too. Yep.
yeah. And, I had a bit of a run in getting down to Niagara on the Lake. Our car was stolen and it had our brand new puppy inside of it. So we ended up,
Oh.
my grandfather was the savior of the day and came and picked us up just outside of Port Hope
Hmm.
and got us down there. But David was so upset when he heard what happened that he had bought me a stuffed animal and said, do you want to put off your film for a day? And I was like, no, no, it's okay, but thank you. But they were just so like, it was incredible, absolutely incredible, and that's just the kind of man that he is. I mean, he even graciously gave me some of his time, a number of years ago to have a quick sit down and visit, just to say this is where I am now, and it truly is because of you. So thank you. It was something I had always wanted to do as an adult, was
Hmm.
to thank him for doing what he did for me, because it hugely impacted my future. Even though I'm not in the business,
Hmm.
the successes that I have is because of the confidence that he brought out in me. I think, a good work ethic,
Hmm.
following direction, all those kind of things you learn in filming. And then you can really apply them quite nicely in your life as an adult in different things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I watched The Brood when I got home from work the other night, and I just have to ask, I mean,
Yep.
when you take a bath now, do you still have to be told to put the whale down?
Rubber ducky. Rubber ducky. Oh. The only
Was
baths now are hot tubs.
was that scripted or did was that Art
I
telling you
honestly, you
you
know what? I can't even remember if that was scripted or just happened or or whatever, right? Like I think I know they said to be playing with the toys and doing things like that when I was in
mm-hmm,
it. So it might have just been a natural thing for Art to do because I mean he was very fatherly too, right? Because he
mm-hmm.
had kids and stuff. So it might have just naturally come along that he tells me to put it down to look
I
at the
just
back,
thought it was
whatever.
funny.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't taken a bath since childhood. I now take hot showers. I don't know
Yeah.
when the last time I've taken. I find with a shower I can wash my hair and what little I have and yeah. So, but I was watching. I just thought, yeah, I gotta ask her about the whale. But nonetheless, you play the little girl who gets kind of abducted, so to speak, I guess, by these mutant kids, you know?
No, they're my brothers and sisters for all
Yeah,
intents and purposes.
yeah, yeah. And how many I don't know totally all about the background, the production, but were these all like kids or were
No.
or
So there was two little people
oh,
that
okay.
played the main broods.
Okay.
And so they did like the murder scenes or the
Mm-hmm.
heavy duty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The filming in the bunkhouse,
Mm-hmm.
that was all a bunch of girls from the Mississauga Gymnastics Club, which was kind of cool because that's where I was living at the time. So it was fun to have a bunch of girls on set, but we filmed late into the night on those couple of days that we were doing. It was very long shooting days and tiring, but they were fantastic. But yeah, so it was the Mississauga Gymnastics Club. There was an article written on them back then. They're all named in it and stuff. So
I could tell
mhm,
their gymnastics if one of them jumped off that bunk there
right,
when Oliver Reed is carrying you, you know.
right,
So
and onto the
are you
back and stuff.
are
Yes.
you still in touch with any of the
Art and I are still quite close and we visit each other, we keep in touch. But that's it, I would love to see Susan Hogan again. I actually did a number of things with Susan
hmm
outside of the Brood. I did some commercials, American Christmas Carol, things like
hmm
that. So there's certain people who would be really fun to run into again, but no, I've been out of it for so long that I got dragged back into it by Chris Alexander because of the 35 year with the
hmm
Brood. And so, I've been fortunate to, keep in touch with everybody that way in that group and Kelly Michael Stewart with Blood in the Snow and, my family there. But as far as the actors and stuff, Art's the only one that I really keep in touch with lots.
Yeah, I art love like Lex, I gotta say Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that 1978 version he was in, I
Fabulous.
think is one of the best remakes ever.
Yeah.
Although I don't consider it a straight remake because where you get the cameo there by Kevin McCarthy and it's almost like it to me like a continuation. But you want me to tell you what that movie reminds me of, that particular version? Especially the end of it, which I won't spoil here. It reminds me of the book of Revelations in the Bible
You know, yeah, absolutely. That's,
because I
yeah,
look at all
it
the
could be.
people,
Yeah,
yeah, I look at the pod people as people that accepted the mark of the beast.
yeah,
And
that's right.
yeah, and of course you've got, one person left, and I won't give anything
Yeah.
too detailed away, but that's what it puts me in mind of,
Hmm, hmm.
as a book of Revelations. And I love so many things in that movie, like the phone cord that goes into the wall and little things like that. So beautifully shot. So And Art was in that a year before he did The Brood. Of course, he was in
Yes.
Porky's, and he was in a
Black
film
Christmas.
that, huh? Black
Black Christmas.
Christmas. I've done a few interviews from Black Christmas. Yep, yep. Lane Griffin and
Yeah.
Carol Zitier. I met both of them, and yeah, and he was also in a movie with Lisa Langlois, but Lisa does not like that movie, and I can't say I really blame her a whole lot. I've heard the stories on set of that film, so yeah. But
Mhm.
yep, and but nonetheless, yeah, Art I have not had on the show here yet, but hopefully maybe sometime that'll happen. But he's done quite oh yeah, he's Porky's, and I did a tribute to Nancy Parsons, who was the
Yeah.
gym teacher. I had her daughter on the show here because when people pass
Nice.
away, I do tribute interviews, and I did one on Nancy Parsons, and from what I hear, all the young people on the set just loved her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that is awesome, but she really, really stole that movie, you know?
Mhm.
But nonetheless, the Brood, were there any times during the film, especially because you were so young filming, did you find it intense filming, or were you just
The only thing was the ending scene, right? The pounding on the door and stuff, because that was
mm-hmm,
quite physical as well.
mm-hmm,
Between the screaming and then the constant pounding. Because when they had to do it when the door was solid.
mm-hmm,
So it was kind of hard. And then they
mm-hmm,
would have to break the door a bit, and then there was more pounding with that, and then reaching through. So the physicality of it and the emotionality of it, it started to weigh. My throat started getting really sore. So we'd done quite a few takes, and
mm-hmm.
then they were just like, okay, I think we've got it. There's I giggle because I know my mom a couple of times was like, oh my God, is she okay? Is she okay? And Dave would say, cut, and I'd be like, ah, okay. So it would stop immediately. I'd be fine. But by the 10th take, it was like, "Yeah, okay." It was kind of like in Deadline when I got hung. You can only do that kind of a thing for so long when it's happening to you before, the amygdala starts going a little crazy and going, okay, whew, that's enough. But nothing else. Everything else was really quite fun, comfortable. Um, and again, they made me feel that way. Here's the blood. You want to watch them getting their masks put on. And it was heartbreaking when Susan got killed as a teacher scene, because some of the kids were truly traumatized, like they were younger. And
Wow.
so myself and Elijah, who was the other young boy in the classroom, who went to try and get help, him and I were being a bit older and trying, no, it's okay. It's okay. We're off to the side as they're filming it. So some of that crying that you hear and stuff is actually real. And I hear it now, and it gives me goosebumps as a mom going, oh, I feel so bad. But, it was nothing to me, but they hadn't been in stuff like that before. Right. And if it's new, yeah. So that was tough, but I'd have to say the only time I was ever uneasy and went, okay, was the pounding on the door. Barring that, everything else was a breeze and so much fun. I mean, come on, Oliver Reed was sticking a gun in my side telling me jokes. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good.
So was that I know there's exterior shots of that cabin, but was that a set or was that a actual location?
Actual location. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
now where is that
yeah.
still
Cabins out there. They're just
standing?
north of Toronto. It was about an hour north of Toronto where they shot a lot of the stuff, the outside stuff.
Now is the location still there? Like the
Yes, they
stuff?
are. Yeah, because they're art centers and different things like that. Yeah. Yep. The buildings are still there. They
Oh,
are.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, I remember the first time I was in Toronto, Lisa and I did a little road trip and we went around to some of the class of 1984 locations,
Yeah.
which was fun, you know. I never did get to see the Black Christmas house yet, that's
Mhm.
something I
Yeah.
haven't seen yet. But we saw all the class of 1984 locations, and but yeah, the Brood, of course. I miss those tax shelter movies that were shot in Canada,
Yeah.
But But yeah, the Brood was, you had that big cabin, nice ominous cabin. Of course, wintertime, that must have been killing.
Mm. Yes, it was very cold, very, very cold, especially that walk down that road. It was like so cold, so
Now,
cold. And even, sitting in the car scenes and stuff like that, they weren't all done inside a studio. So it was, yeah.
do you still have that lunchbox?
Don't know. I asked Art if he still had that Peabody coat, and he said he thinks his brother has it because we actually had to come back and reshoot
Hmm.
the very, very last scene. There was
Hmm.
something, I'm not sure what happened with it. And Art actually wasn't available. So his brother ended up coming in. I guess it looked enough like him because it was mainly to do with me and the things on my arms and stuff. And he had the
Hmm.
coat and did all that. And I was like, oh, that's really, I completely forgotten about that until Art reminded me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I do remember that. So,
There you go.
yeah,
I love the school scene.
yeah.
When I popped this in, I had totally forgot about the school scene. I was like,
Yeah, and that school's still there and it's not changed all that much. So,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So
there's
yeah.
the hill and the swing and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of cool to go back and see the steps. And yeah, it's on Avenue Road.
Oh wow.
So you'll be
Yeah,
able to drive by it when you're here. Same with the Black
absolutely.
Christmas house,
Yeah. And Susan Hogan, like I felt bad that she got offed in it.
right? So not right.
I loved her hair.
Pixie cut is absolutely freaking,
Yeah.
well, that woman is just so gorgeous. She can pull off anything, but just beautiful inside and out. She truly was just magnificent to work with.
Yeah, is she still working in the industry now? I don't see a whole lot on her right now.
I haven't either. The odd time I see her pop up and stuff, and I'll just creep and see if she's, doing okay, that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, there's I wonder sometimes I think I'd just be a weird, freaky fan if I reach out sometimes and go, hey, remember me?
Hmm. Well, of course, we got to talk about Samantha Eggar. It was
Yeah.
really freaky in this. She did, of course, would do curtains
Yeah.
and the collector there in the 60s, and yeah, she had quite the career, but that image of her in this movie where she pulls angelically pulls
Yeah.
her robe open, I'm like, you can't unsee that image,
Quite
um
gory. Yes, I know they had a hard time getting that kind of stuff into the movie. There
I
was a lot of
bet.
cutting and edits and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. But were you there when they were doing the makeup job on that? That must have took a while for her to
I
do that.
I actually never met Samantha until
Mm.
the rap party. I never ever worked once with her in that entire film.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see those. I saw a lot of the different things in the fake brutal that was on the autopsy table and stuff like that. Absolutely amazing, what they could do back then, even with what they had to work with. But yeah, I never actually met or worked with my mother in the movie.
Yeah, oh, she was great in it. Of course, Oliver Reed, we got to
Yes,
touch on him.
yes. Yeah, I was very fortunate to get to work with him, and certainly I don't never did appreciate back then who I was working with. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was just a kid and these were just people and what it was a job and it was fun and that was it. But as I get older, I go, holy moly, wow, like I got these people DNA on me. Yeah, I touched these people. I was in the arms of Oliver Reed,
There
and
you go.
he gave me a kiss on my cheek and told me jokes. And, what an opportunity to have been able to have that short amount of time and see the saucy side of him,
Mm-hmm.
the trouble and the bad boy image, but then also see such a loving, caring man that he literally threw a tirade the night of that filming because it was getting so late and he was so upset that they were keeping all his kids up and making us work. And he just wanted to get this scene done and let us kids get home to bed. And it was just, I was like, wow, he was like, ooh. So it was, and that's all he kept saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And saying to the girls, by the end of the night, he's literally holding them on him as they're jumping on him because they're so tired. It was something else to see. So I've got that great memory of knowing that part of him as well as knowing the stories that you hear. I always go by what I see and how I'm treated, and
Hmm.
my self truth, not what I hear from other people. So
Hmm. Yeah. Well, you say you're still in touch with Art Hindle, you know.
absolutely, yes.
I know Lisa introduced me well to the restaurant scene in Toronto,
Mhm.
and so I look forward to seeing her when I go to Toronto this fall. And she and I still keep in touch. She usually sends Skittles, my cat, something for
Yeah,
Christmas.
nice.
Oh yeah. But nonetheless, when you and Art Hindle hang out, is there any particular, like, do you guys go to like out to eat, or you got
We
any?
we have there's a little Italian restaurant across from the Royal Cinema that we've had dinner at a couple of times, and met when there's been, things going on, like when, he came
I believe
down.
Lisa and I have eaten there.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. And
Yeah.
Bar Isabel, which is just up from there. My daughter's actually working in there now too. That's a wonderful, wonderful Italian restaurant. Um, we've gone golfing. Like, he's met us when we've been golfing. I've gone to his home just as a visit and to do some things. It tends more out at the outings too. We'll do stuff together, or when he's doing something,
Hmm.
I'll go and show up because he is so busy, and I have the flexibility in my life. When I was living much closer to Toronto than I am now. It would take me maybe an hour to go down. So I think nothing of hopping in my car, and I would go down, do the event, and surprise him that I'd be there. But I would hang out with his wife because I knew she always went with him. And,
Hmm.
she sits there all by herself. God love her. Brooke is just an incredible woman and so supportive and loving to him in everything that he does.
Hmm.
So I was like, I always know she's going to be there sitting by herself. So I always go to look for, can I hang out with you? And she's like, hi, Cindy, great. But then I just don't bug, right? It's just, I'm here. Hi, how are you? Just wanted to see. It's like, a quick visit with an old friend. It's all you got, but it's good. It does you for a while. So,
Hmm.
and then COVID was horrible. It,
Yeah.
it shut us all down. And then he's been working so much, but I am truly hoping that before this year ends, him and I will be and with Brooke together for a meal or a visit of some sort. So,
Yeah, I saw a picture on your Facebook page of you and Lynn Laurie and Louis Del Grande, and I was like, it hit me yesterday that that's like three shades of Cronenberg. You got Scanners, Shivers, and The Brood, and also Dead Zone there, And I met both of them at that con, In fact, I've got a ton of Lynn Laurie autograph stuff because I'm still in touch. I was the first one to do a podcast Zoom with her, you know?
yeah.
And she would have these deals online where she'd be uh, selling Blu-rays and combined with a couple of signed photos.
Mm,
So I've got a lot of Lynn Laurie autographs here,
yeah.
it's signed like when Cat People come out on 4K, she had a thing for that, so I got that signed, and I got um, Shivers signed, and so I got so many of her stuff, and I got a lot of her pictures, and she's still stunning,
Mm.
So, um, I remember she was a hugger too. So, yeah. So I was happy to meet her. But one of the questions I always ask, because I love doing the cons, is what's the most unique thing you've ever been asked to sign?
Um, you know what? I don't think anybody's brought me anything too unique. I think the most exciting thing that I found was
Hmm.
from a wonderful man who had brought a photo, and it was a black and white photo of the winter scene of me walking down the street with the two broods with me in the middle, except that we hadn't gone too far. And it was a pre-shot deciding what they wanted to do of us covered in blood.
Hmm.
So it implied that we'd all been covered in blood from the versus that clean shot that you see us walking down the road or whatever. So I was like, oh my God, where did you get this photo from? And he actually let me borrow it. And then, I sent it back to Gary, and I was like, that was so cool to see. People show me things that I don't even know. I found stuff online, like a Japanese poster, and I'm like, wow, the stuff that's out there is quite cool. I
Hmm.
had no idea, but I've just got simple posters handed to me, or the pictures of different things. But yeah, I've got to laugh too. There's one copy of the movie that's out, and I do believe it's the Asian one. And there's a photo of a little girl screaming, and it's not even me
Oh, wow.
on the back of the thing. So it's got all the pictures of the brood, and there is some of me, but then there's and it's not even me on the back. And I laughed so hard. I was like, okay, that's funny. That's
Well,
wow.
what's really interesting, I loved Horror-rama. I've done 4 Horror-ramas, and I'm about to do my third Frightmare in the Falls. But of course, gotten to know Chris Alexander and Louis Serraz quite a bit. I've had Louis on here 3 times. Chris, I finally got on here last year, and I've got some of his movies, including one he did with Lynn Laurie here, because I had Allie Chappell as a
Yeah.
girlfriend on here. Love Allie. And so yeah, Louis Del Grande also said the same thing. Chris could talk people into doing anything. So yeah. How did he find you?
Online, it was the weirdest coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the time, I didn't really talk much about my past life. And a couple of friends in town where we moved had found out about it. So they started asking me questions. And my ex-husband said, you should show them some of your stuff. And I said, well, I don't really have much. So I went online and was trying to see what I could find. And I found some photos and, saved them to my desktop. Literally the next day, I got a message on Facebook from Chris Alexander who said, are you the Cindy Hinds? That was, and I'm like, okay, what is going on here? I even said to my ex-husband, I'm like, do you think I clicked on something wrong? Is he hacked? Am I like, so I messaged back and found out he was on the up and up, and he had been hired to do all the background and interview stuff for the 35-year version. And so I said, yeah, I would love to just see art, spend time with art and do that. Absolutely. So we met up one time, and then we met up a couple years later again. My son was at Holland Blue Review for post-op recovery, and him
Mm-hmm.
and Art came down there and we did some more stuff. We went to the school, and did an interview there. And then I just, started going to some of the events, and, Chris and I have hung out just as friends, and I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen him in far, 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 far too long. But um, yeah, he's just such a charismatic man who really, I mean, his passion and his knowledge of for what he does and the love of it is fantastic. I became a big fan of his music too. You're a fan when you use Spotify and they turn up as your favorites of 2017. Go, wow, I guess I listened to him a lot.
Yeah.
So, he's a very, very talented man, and I have no doubt that his young brood are going to be following in his footsteps because they all seem to be quite talented themselves.
Actually, yeah, they are. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're really good artists.
Yes.
So,
Yes, I
yeah,
bought some of their pieces.
yeah. Well, like I said, I first went
I
in
do.
2017, and that's when they started doing it on Bathurst Street,
Yes.
and they were doing it there every year. I went, and I loved it. And I remember that first year I went, I helped Lisa at her table, and Leslie Donaldson was there, and John Russo was there from Night of the Living Dead. It was the first, I believe, first Canadian con for Ashley C. Williams from Human Centipede. So I haven't seen that movie, but she was stunning. So of course I had to go over and meet her. So,
Yeah. You guys were all
so,
up in that room, right? That upper room upstairs.
hmm
And, I do
yeah,
remember that. I do. You know what? We did meet then.
there we go. Um, so Yeah, we'll have to meet when I come into Toronto this year.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about the Dead Zone a little bit, because that's
Sure.
another Cronenberg movie you did. Of course, Christopher
Yes.
Walken, Martin Sheen. You got
Right.
that up Brooke Adams.
Right.
Speaking of Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
And
she was
Nicholas Campbell.
beautiful.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
beautiful and very, very lovely. But and yeah, but Nicholas Campbell was in The Brood and in Dead Zone as well. Right. So because he was, Oliver Reed's helper,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was the bad guy in Dead Zone.
That's right. It's
So
I should reach out and see if I get him on here. Is he still around?
I believe so. Him
I
and Art always
should.
get mixed up for each other because they look like each other. When they just like aren't shooting and just go relax and take,
Mm-hmm.
chill, they both got this gorgeous waft of hair, and they both look so much alike. It is everywhere they go, they always get mixed up. It's so funny, very very
Well,
funny.
I
But
remember
yeah,
Brooke Adams in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that little thing where she twirled her eyes around. Wow. I yeah.
yeah, no, I got to sit in a makeup chair beside her. Actually, we all got our makeup and hair done. And Anthony too, Zorba at that time, because he was in the scene with mine, right? So he was the
Mm-hmm.
follow-up just before me. But David had actually wanted me for the scene at the beginning where the nurse's daughter was in the caught in the fire, the house fire.
Mm-hmm.
That was the scene David had called me for. But when we met, I was too big. I'd grown up too much. So then he had this other part that he gave to me, and wasn't I a lucky girl? I got to meet and work with Christopher Walken
Yep.
because of it, and meet all these other people, Brooke Adams and Anthony, and it was just yeah, something else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Dead Zone, of course. Yep. I got your credit list up here. Just gonna ask you about some of your other credits here. But yeah, the Dead Zone, great. Of course, I remember the Littlest Hobo TV show. I used to watch that growing up.
Yeah. The other big one was Tales of the Haunted, and it was a 5-part. I mean, aside from Deadline, my other major motion movie that I got hung in, it didn't do too well because they went bankrupt. It is out now on DVD and available. But Tales of the Haunted came on right after The Twilight Zone for
Mm-hmm.
5 nights, and it was with Jack Palance and Helen
Yep.
Hughes and Michael Starr, and and Derek Jones, and him and I did Littlest Hobo together. He played my brother in the one Hobo episode that I did. We played brother and sister in Tales of the Haunted as well. That was really fantastic, working with snakes and tarantulas and bogs, and I mean, I don't think there's ever a more intense human being than Jack Palance. I thought my head was going to pop off when he grabbed my head, and it was like, okay, I'm going to try and not hate you at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets into character, so it was good. It was good.
Well, I see Deadline listed here. Now, I
Yeah.
haven't seen this, so whet my appetite on this movie.
It is about a horror story writer. So my
Mm-hmm.
father in the movie writes horror stories, Stephen Young,
Mm-hmm.
and his horror movies are quite grotesque, very
Mm-hmm.
grotesque. So throughout it, you see these blips and bleeps of his horror movies, and he is going down the tubes. His wife is a drunk, his marriage is falling apart, and he's out. Wife's drunk. One day, the kids decide to act out one of his movies, and in it, people get hung. So my two brothers accidentally hang me, and I die. And so that sends him into a spiral of despair and drugs and everything else. And throughout the movie, I come back and haunt him. So, I'll go swinging by the screen, or he'll be watching one of his movies and picture me there. So I got hung twice in that movie. The very first film I did was for the second one, which was the vision of me being up on this, 20-foot platform and being dropped and hung. That was the difficult one that I was saying was really, really hard to do because it was literally up very high. The floor joists would drop and I would drop. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I was perfectly safe. I was in a harness. Nothing was going to happen. But when you're screaming, daddy, 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 and the floor drops and boom, and you got to act dead. I think I did 11 takes, and then I pretended I had to go pee and said, okay, Mario, I can't do anymore. It was too much. But The second time was fun because I knew what to expect, and it was only on a little tricycle with a little ceiling thing, and I was all dressed up pretty. So it was like, now this is how to do it. So it was great, but it was not a lot of people well received it very well. I don't think it probably because it was quite so graphic. A lot of really horrific, children setting beds on fire with their grandparents tied up, and uh, turbines eating people, and evil goats. And it was just, it's a very, very bizarre, all over the place movie. But if you like gore and graphic and weird kind of stuff, it's right up your alley.
I'm I'm either way I'm fine, like I don't mind gore as long as it's not too excessive,
Yeah,
I like the Cronenberg stuff. I like Dario Argento stuff,
yeah.
and stuff like that. So
No, they were
yeah.
definitely pushing the envelope with it. And I'm not sure what happened with all the financials and stuff, but I did think it was quite funny because we did they were doing a little drive-in thing, the boys from Shock Stock,
Mm-hmm.
Jake was. And so I went because it was the drive-in by me. And they had
Mm-hmm.
a couple of tables set up, and the guys from the movies that they released deadline were
Mm-hmm.
there. And I'm like, hey, wait a second. I didn't get paid for this movie. So like, are you gonna? And he's like, no, but if you want one, I'll give it to you for $20. And I'm like, oh, a discount for my own movie. So we actually have a really fun picture where I'm handing him a 20 and he's handing me my movie.
Wow, you got paid for
I
your
love it.
own movie, yeah? Wow.
It's fantastic. It was so fun. It was so fun. But it just, again, you kind of go, wow, we're talking 45 years ago, and we're talking some of that really original horror that, started everything going, the true horror, the true,
Mm-hmm.
whereas and I think Deadline to me is more of a horror movie, and The Brood is more of a tragic love story, you
Mm-hmm.
know, kind of idea. So, there's different things behind them, that's for sure. But the tragedy of, a bad marriage, and then, the losing of a child, and how do you maintain your sanity, and things that you go through. I mean, well, I think what I did in the movie too wouldn't even be tolerated in movies nowadays. It would be probably too much, and they say now, be careful what you do, because sometimes it's just too much for people to. I think Deadline might be one of those movies nowadays if it were to be done.
So do you still have your snowsuit, your red snowsuit from the Brood?
No, no, I outgrew that. I do have my director's chair.
Do you?
I do have my necklace, and that's it though. I finally had they got me this big gigantic stuffed bull, and it finally got chewed up and eaten. So he had to go, and they bought me a big giant pizza sized chocolate chip cookie
There you go.
that I had. But yeah, I still have my director's chair. It's one thing it's moved probably 30 times with me, but it's still in great
You
shape.
don't have your whale?
No, I do not have I'm not sure what happened to that one. I think that maybe Oliver might have taken that with my mother's bottle of booze that they gave her.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, I don't think that snowsuit's gonna fit you now, though.
Oh, you'd be surprised. It would probably be pretty damn close.
What did your folks think of these movies?
My mom was very proud of me. My mom and dad were divorced at the time. So of course, and really I was my mom's full-time job, if you will.
Hmm.
She'd come on set with me and do that kind of stuff. Um, say my stepfather really wasn't involved. My dad and my stepmom obviously proud, but I think if anybody were to be my biggest fans per se, it would have been my mom as the
Hmm.
big support at the time, and my brother as well. Even though he didn't really want to do it, he always thought it was great, but it was very hard leaving home and leaving him. And he was with my stepfather, so I'm out having a great time and doing all this stuff, and he doesn't. But no, it was good. And as I got older and started doing the bigger movies too, you start going, oh wow, maybe there's something there. But then life changes, and we changed course and never looked back. And now I don't do it anymore. But they're
What
still very proud of me.
what led to you stepping away? Was it having a family of your own, or what's the story
No,
there?
I was young. My mom divorced who she was with, ended up meeting a man that lived outside of Toronto
Mm-hmm.
and chose to move outside of Toronto. She doesn't drive, so it made it very difficult to get to auditions. And I was also starting grade 9. And so I had done a lot of stuff through my elementary years. And we spoke to my agent, and he, basically said that at this time, probably not much going on. So if you wanted to take a step back, this would be the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The step back was to enjoy high school, do all that just be a kid, not do any,
Mm-hmm.
which I did. And I absolutely loved it. But I didn't know that by grade 11, I was going to be on my own. So I've been living on my own since I was 17. And then I just never really had the ability to be able to go back into acting. I knew that, you need money, you need a job, so that was the kind of stuff that I did. I worked. And then next thing you know, it's just years go by and Chris Alexander calls you up out of the blue.
Yep. Yep.
And truly that's kind of exactly how it was. When I met my children's father, it got brought up a little bit then because he was interested in it and his friends were interested in it because they had a friend who was also an actor, but I was already out of it and he was just getting into it. And it changes so much, and even my daughter's done a few things, but it's just completely different than when I was. The names, the jargon, the everything is not at all like it was when I was in it. So everybody's like, oh yeah, yeah, no, no, I don't. I'm a businesswoman now. Sorry, I don't know anything about the movie industry. I just know what I like to watch, see, and it's fun reminiscing and doing this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I just never had the opportunity. And then after the kids and that separation and the husband and Aiden and everything else, it's just like, well, doesn't look like that's going to happen again. And I'm okay for that. It's not like I miss it per se. I I miss it in the sense of the memories that I have and how it works and how fun it is. But those long hours and that hard work and everything else, I don't necessarily miss that.
Look at the positive thing though.
Yeah, I don't think people realize.
You're in a couple of classic David Cronenberg movies. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's not like you were in films that nobody's seen.
I had
So
I had a fantastic career, and
mm-hmm.
I think it shocks people too when they find out that, they go, you did that, you did that, you did, holy, you did, yeah. I'm like, I'm not bragging or saying,
Mm-hmm.
it was Megan Follows and Cindy Hinds.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 70s and 80s, we were the it girls. I
Mm-hmm.
went horror genre and she went Matt and Jenny, Anna Green Gables. And
Mm-hmm.
she's still in the business and is absolutely phenomenal. And I have so much adoration for her and respect for an artist. She's become a fantastic actor. And I just went a completely different route and got out of it.
Who are you just talking about there?
Megan Follows, look, Anna Green Gables, Matt and
Okay.
Jenny.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. All right.
So her and I, we would show up at auditions for the big stuff, and it was like you'd walk in and it was her and I. There'd be a bunch of other, but then her and I were like almost at everything. We were number one competition for each other, which
So
is
what
kind
do
of
you
fun. I think that, because people go, "You're you," and I'm like, I know, right?
what do your kids think of your movies?
Aiden has no desire because he doesn't like horror, gore, any of that kind of stuff, and does not want to see anything bad happen to his mother. Just
Okay.
thinking about anything bad happening, right? So he said
Mm-hmm.
he may watch The Littlest Hobo, but it's not really his thing.
Mm-hmm.
He has checked me out. He was like screaming one day, and I'm like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? You have an IMDb page." Yeah, I told you, honey. I didn't. So he thought that was cool that I have an IMDb page. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter, she's wanted to do acting since before she even knew I did acting. So it's got to be in the genes or something. So I, didn't really support much of it until she was a little bit older. So she did do a couple of commercials, and she did
Hmm.
do made for TV Lifetime Life Channel movie, and a couple of other things. She was in Hope Calls. She was in the last
Okay.
season, and the funnest thing, she was a constant regular background person. One day they needed extra people, so she said, Aiden was gone with his dad, so she says, "Why don't you come in?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, that'd be so fun to be an extra and be on the movie with you." So I did. So I went and got all dressed up in old fashioned stuff and just hung out with my daughter for the day and went, "This is like the coolest thing ever to be able to do something." And that's why I jumped at it. There's one thing to be a set mom. That was cool in itself, and helping her, being organized and understanding what my mom went through. But then to actually be on set and be in something with her, I thought I might never get that opportunity again, because she doesn't want to be an actress. She was just doing this for, a job to get money. So I jumped at the opportunity, but I had to laugh because, we were both there the same amount of time, and she made 4 times the amount of money I did because she's an ACTRA member and I'm not. I got paid minimum wage. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm Cindy Hinds and you paid me $14 an hour?
Let me tell you,
Clearly
it'd be
kidding.
funny.
But it
It'd
was
be.
very funny. But the other thing that was really great though
Hmm.
about it, Greg, is that, do you remember the show A Gift to Last from when we were kids? It was the old fashioned Anna Green Gables type show. And it was, back then. And I was in that one of the episodes, but my mother got an extra part in it. So I've got this photo of me and my mother both dressed up in time period pieces. And now I've got a photo of me and my daughter dressed up. And so just those kind of full circle things are what, really fulfill me now when silly things like that happen. Or when somebody like yourself reaches out to me and says, "I love that movie. It meant so much." Or, I'll meet somebody that's 20 years old and they're a Cronenberg fan and The Brood is their favorite movie. And it just blows my mind, but you just never know how you're going to impact somebody. And that's why I always say, be kind, no matter what, be kind, because you just never know. You never know how you can affect somebody.
Wouldn't it be interesting if your daughter ended up in either one of David Cronenberg's movies or even Brandon Cronenberg?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. That would be so, so, so neat. That's why I keep, especially after going through my divorce, I was like, okay, I think I probably have a really good script for The Brood 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Hmm.
I think we could do something.
There
I
you
still get where
go.
he was coming from and where the rage from within is. Got it.
There you go. There you
And
go.
I swear I started wondering, my skin started breaking out and all these rashes and hives when I was going through the stress. And I'm like, holy shit, is this where he got the idea from?
Hmm. Yeah.
Ask
Yeah.
him that one.
But do
But
you have any charities that you're involved with that you want to plug and promote on here?
I am so huge on giving back. The Children's Treatment Network, they do sick kids and all those foundations for the kids. That's something that I always hold near and dear. But what I find is even more important is your local community groups
Hmm.
desperately need members and desperately need help. The Angus District Lions and Lioness, I was members of them in the small community that we had, but they're in desperate need right now of new members because people are moving away. I've moved away, others have
Hmm.
moved away, people age. And they're fun, they're fun volunteer groups, and you get together and you do things like that. The Rotary clubs, they're more of a business oriented. You take in younger people and teach them how to do business and skills like that. And you're giving back to the community, donating things, like here in North Bay, they do bingos once a week on TV. And then that money raised goes back into the communities. The Angus Lions hold every year the Canada Day celebration, and we raise money and give it back to the community. So I think not only is it important for us when we can to give, um, you get a lot of the bigger charities that have a lot of people. It's the smaller ones and the smaller groups that people forget about, even like your local food bank. Like everybody
Hmm.
gives at Christmas, everybody gives at Thanksgiving, but does anybody think that in June these people still need to eat? So don't forget, keep, send in the money, send in that kind of stuff. And I'm big on shopping local, supporting local,
Hmm.
being the president of the Chamber of Commerce, which I also helped develop in Angus, again, is a big thing. So I try not to go to the bigger centers that can have the mass of the population. I try to stick to the mom and pop stores and help them out. If it's a few bucks more, so be it. But again, I feel that as far as somebody that's able to support myself and support my family and is fortunate, because a lot of my community is what's given me my ability to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I should be giving back. I believe that's my responsibility, my moral responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that if somebody needs help, that they get it. Like yourself with my big truck. Let's go.
You know what? It's funny. Uh, One of the charities that I'm involved with is one for suicide and depression awareness. And I've had some of my guests do this because remember when the ALS challenge took
Yes.
off?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Nice
ice
bucket.
bucket challenge. And I just lost my dad last year after an 8-year battle with it, you know. But one came out after Robin Williams left us called the Doubt for Our Face Challenge, and involved taking a pie in the face, and you nominate three
Yes.
people. And I've had some of my guests do that. Lisa did one, yeah,
Yeah.
and I've had a few other people I've interviewed have done it as well. And one of the things I do is I'll donate to the charity of your choice if you film yourself doing a Doubt Fire Face challenge and nominate people in the industry.
That is so fun. Oh my God, I love that. That is fabulous. Fabulous.
Hmm.
Because I am, well, yeah, mental health, if you've seen any of my feed too, is a big thing. It's affected my family greatly and very close friends as well. So for sure, that's fun. That's a lot of fun.
Sandy Johnson, who was Judith Myers in Halloween, she did it, and her husband was dressed up as Michael Myers, and he was the one that put the pie in her face.
Love
It
it.
was so funny that she did that. Alan Udy from My Bloody Valentine did one, you know. She was really cool, and um, so
That's
many, you
awesome.
know.
Yeah, that's great. All right.
Yeah,
We'll work on pies in the face.
sure.
One day
Yep.
you're going to open up your email and go, "What's this? Oh my God, you did it."
There you go. There you go. Yep. So I thought I would I'd throw that your way because you strike me as somebody who has a good sense of humor. So
Yes, I am very childlike. I like to be silly. Life can be far too serious. I get very serious as well when I need to be, but I prefer to be fun and silly and just enjoy life. I love bubbles.
you love bubbles? Yep.
Bubbles,
Well,
bubbles, bubbles.
bubbles. Do- So are you one of these ones that takes a little thing, you blow the bubbles out, and you just kind of go like this?
Oh no, I have like automatic, like rifle, like electric.
Oh
And they
yeah?
shoot out hundreds of bubbles at a time. And I go through the house if I'm feeling upset and I shoot bubbles everywhere. Aiden's like, "Mom, you're getting soap everywhere." I don't care. I got to clean it up. I know they're
There you
supposed to
go.
be outside, but it's okay. Bubbles are fun inside. Fun with a dog too.
There you go. There you go. You got a
I'm very
kid.
much an earthy person. I like to be outside and feet in the ground and hands in the water, that kind of stuff. So I like to be outside
You
playing
got
and
a
doing those fun, silly things.
Yeah. Do you have a web page or any place like that where people can contact you?
Nothing personal again because
Hmm.
I haven't really done it. I've got my own personal Facebook page
Hmm.
that I don't block off or anything. There is a fan page that somebody has done for me. God love him, and he keeps running it and putting up stuff on there, which is very, very sweet. Kevin Kane, he's also an author of. He collects possessed dolls. He's quite the interesting character, Kevin Kane. Yeah, and some fabulous books that he's written on stuff. Um, but he does that, and then it's just mainly been my business. But I'm kind of relaxing and enjoying myself and trying to decide if I want to do what next.
Well, you're in real estate now. You know what's interesting? Um, for my birthday, I went to Boston Pizza for supper, and I was reminded that the first waitress I ever tipped worked there, and she's in real estate now, you know? And I think she lives in Alberta, if I remember correctly. But anyway, what got you involved with real estate?
My ex-husband, actually, I'd been working for a furniture manufacturer, ready to assemble, for about 14 years. I was their
Hmm.
sales and marketing manager, so been a businesswoman for many, many years. Come from a hospitality background. That's what I went to school for.
Hmm.
3 years for hotel, restaurant, resort admin, and then ended up getting this customer service job. Quickly developed into the marketing manager and just took off from there. And then when I met my ex-husband, he was just retiring from the military and already doing some real estate. And it just kind of worked because it allowed us to work together, but it gave me a bit more flexibility. My son was starting to need to have some surgeries and things like that. So I decided to get into it with him, and we became very, very successful, but way more than what I wanted to do. So personally, I wanted to try and get out of real estate a bit. And I ended up opening up 2 restaurants in Angus, a
Wow.
295 seat family restaurant and a 50 seat cafe thing. And have now since, obviously we've sold everything off and all that kind of stuff. But that was really fun. I mean, that's what I went to school for. I wanted to do it. The town didn't have a restaurant. We didn't have a big employer except for the military. So I thought, geez, I hired 100 people. It was just so wonderful to be giving back that way to the community as well. And even though I've left the community, it's all still there and people are still doing it and people still have jobs and the main street looks just that little bit nicer. And so I was glad to be able to leave a touch that way and my mark and so many
Mhm.
good friends there, you know.
Did the Brood kids help
And it's funny, eh? No idea where any of them are anymore. None, no clue. Guess I could look
Yeah,
them all up on Facebook because I got their names from that article. But yeah, that's the fun stuff that I do have a lot of memorabilia from things,
they're
photos and autographs I didn't even know I had of people. Oh wow, look at that.
well, you know what? I'm going to be in Toronto this fall, so I'm going to bring this with me because I want to meet you and get you to sign this. And
Right.
yeah,
Have
so
you uh have you got a copy of Stephen Bissett's book yet on the
no,
Bruins? So Stephen Bissett, I will bring you a copy then.
okay.
Stephen Bissett, you familiar with him? He's a cartoonist and did oh boy, oh boy, what was that? Right. Well, he did the Creature from the Black Lagoon comics books and all that. He's from the States, so fantastic cartoonist
Okay.
artist. But he was commissioned to do a book on the Brood, but it was all the interviews. So he interviewed Mark Irwin,
Mm-hmm.
myself, Art, and then put in a whole bunch of other stuff. But the book is, like 4 inches thick. And it's all the interviews from, word for word and all different stuff and different things. And Art signed it and I signed it. And then Stephen put in a golden ticket thing and signed it as well. That came out 2, 3 years. Oh, no, it must have been, it was pre-COVID, 3 years ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so that was pretty cool to find out something like that was being done.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah.
You got presents coming.
Well, I look forward to meeting you, so and we'll have to keep in touch. So
What
I've
are,
had
do you know the dates offhand?
looking at, let me see. I'm gonna look at the dates on Frightmare in the Falls this year.
So it usually runs right around my birthday.
Oh yeah? You got to turn 39, huh?
Again,
Yeah,
US.
there you go. Frightmare in the Falls. Okay, it is um October 27th to 29th.
We're going out for my birthday, Greg.
There you go.
I'll treat. Lisa
Oh,
will have to come too. You have to let her know. Cindy's birthday on the 27th. We have to go out for dinner.
there you go. Yeah, Lisa. Yeah, I love Lisa.
Yeah, I've nothing but wonderful things about that woman.
Yeah, I love Lisa. And I actually got a t-shirt with her face on it from um class of 1984 because we went and I actually got one on well the mask as well,
Oh,
you know.
awesome.
Oh
Awesome.
yeah, we went we there's so anytime you get off a subway, there's just so many weird places you can go. And we went
Yes.
to a t-shirt place because she wanted to price t-shirts for conventions, because so she could do some up. And so but I always loved Class of 1984 a lot, and loved her in that as Patsy. But yeah, that's from 27th to 29th. So I'm probably that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm going to assume I'm probably going to leave on here on Thursday and get there Thursday night because it doesn't take long to fly down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and Lisa and I usually go down there together. I'll rent a car and then she drives, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Yep, because I'm not gonna drive in that. So
Yeah, I hear you.
yep. So I always rent the car and Lisa drives and we make a road trip out of it. And I usually rent a hotel and stay at. And
Yeah.
yep. And
That's it's a beautiful city. There's lots of really fun, nice things to do around there too. So
yep. So I'll probably stay a week in Toronto. I always do. And I usually do some videos. If you check out my YouTube page, I got some videos of me at some of these events and stuff. So
awesome.
yeah. So um yeah, I had some fun with that. And I credit Lisa with so much of that because if she had not have said asked taken the chance to ask me to go to Horror-rama, I probably would be just doing these. Well, I was doing these at the CHSR, the campus station here on phone. It
Okay.
was Nancy McLaughlin from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, who told me about Zoom because when COVID
Okay.
happened and
Yeah.
lockdown happened, I had no way of doing it. So she told me about Zoom and Carrie Yates from who was involved in a movie that I'm a co-producer on, 13 Fanboy.
Okay.
Yeah, Carrie Yates is from the UK and she helped guide me through getting this set up so I could do these. It's so nice doing these just from
Wonderful.
my apartment.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Yes. Yeah.
hmm
It helps with the comfort level too, right?
Yep,
Sure.
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, I thank you so much for coming on here today and
oh,
chatting with me.
my pleasure. And I look forward to doing it again sometime when we can talk other stuff.
You know what? I gladly have you back. I want to keep in touch and
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And before I let you go, would
Mhm.
you mind doing a plug for my show?
I would love to.
Yep, just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
This is Cindy Hinds, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert on was it Python? Sorry, I
Py-
blew that already.
Python's Paradise.
Python's Paradise. Greg Gilbert's Python's Paradise. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I'm DJ
Now, do you want me to
Python.
say where I'm from or just my name?
You can say where you're from, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Say you're from the Brood and all that stuff.
Okay. This is Cindy Hinds from The Brood, Dead Zone, and a few other of your favorite scary movies. And you are listening to Greg Gilbert's Python's Dead. I forgot it again. I'm a loser. I'm looking right at it.
Python's Paradise. Yeah.
I but I'm listening to because my dog is choking. I think you can hear him. I'm hopefully that's he's going. He's got something stuck in his throat,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been oh for 2 days now. So I think I might have to take him to the vet, but I'm sorry. Okay. Slate, cut, roll. Ha, here we go. Python's Paradise. This is
Absolutely.
Cindy Hinds from The Brood, Dead Zone, and a few other great horror movies. And you are listening to Greg Gilbert's Python's Paradise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, we've been talking to Cindy Hines today. Yes, the brood's going to turn 45 next year.
Oh,
Wow.
that makes me feel old.
Makes you feel old.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. And it's been a lot of fun, Greg.
Well, you know what? I'm glad to have made a new friend today, and I look forward to meeting you when I go to Toronto in a few months.
Absolutely.
So,
You bet.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Take
And
care.
if
Have a
you're
good
back
weekend.
here in Fredericton again, look me up.
I absolutely will. Guaranteed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.